Mick obtained a copy of Shire in the realm of gold mining. Every second matters, and I just tipped the dick. Punishing landscape with their big equipment and very tight timelines, Tony Beets and his staff are under no room for mistake. The loss of thousands of dollars in gold output may be caused by only one slip-up. Unfortunately, that is precisely what happened during an otherwise everyday task at Paradise Hill. Mike Beets and his, as the wash plant needed to be kept running, the team was in a mad dash to reinforce the dike road at the settling pond. However, tragedy struck when a 10-ton side dump truck, which was already overloaded and struggling to make a tight turn, began to tip over due to the weight shift, sending the back tire over the edge of the dike before anyone could react, leaving the truck dangling precariously over a 15-foot drop with no way to stop it from plunging into the water below. Mike quickly assessed the damage, seeing that the truck's frame had taken a serious hit. If the truck fell into the pond, recovery would be much more complicated, potentially jeopardizing both the truck and their schedule. The crew had to act quickly to attempt an emergency recovery. As the truck continued to shift, Mike knew they had to move quickly. The first step was to secure the truck in place to prevent further movement. He called for chains in the hopes of stabilizing the vehicle and pulling it back onto the road. Positioning his 220 excavator with caution, he started the process. Laboriously attempting to hoist the truck, it became evident shortly after that the machine was battling the enormous weight of the vehicle whose chain was stretched beneath. Mike, his voice betraying his growing aggravation, said under his breath that he needed more power and that he needed to think fast since the vehicle still wouldn't move. He then called in a 480 excavator, a much bigger equipment with a lifting capacity of 20 tons. He thought they would have a chance of successfully bringing the vehicle back to firm ground if they worked together. This will need me to create a dual procedure. Despite Mike's cautious handling, the machine just couldn't handle the weight of the truck. He thought, if I can flip it, it will be okay. I just need to find the right spot to lift. I just do not possess the necessary ability to do this task to my satisfaction within the constraints of the given area. He acknowledged that it is too heavy, and I am unable to work on it in one sitting. One potential option would have been to remove the trailer, so lowering the vehicle's weight. A great deal, but that procedure was intricate and would need time that they lacked while Mike battled. To resolve the issue, his incessant interruptions made it even more difficult to concentrate, and coming up with solutions became a constant struggle. Finally, he had to face the fact that there was no easy solution and no safe way to retrieve the truck, and work ground to a standstill for Tony Beets. The setback was devastating. Tony arrived at the site of the accident to find that no gold was being collected. He was already upset since his sole working wash plant had already been stopped down to concentrate on reconstructing the dike road. The truck accident had further added to the disarray. Because to the time wasted assessing the damage, he was unimpressed with Mike's first attempts. He said, "Clueless, clueless." Mike had rescued the trailer from the pit, but the vehicle still wasn't moving, so he proposed pulling the whole thing. Vehicle out in one go, Tony shot off the suggestion that he would never do it, calling it stupid. Instead, he pushed for a more controlled approach, insisting on keeping the truck at least a foot away from removing the metal pin that connected the two halves of the trailer and retrieving them one by one needed exact execution. With his squad poised with the pin disconnected and the truck and trailer ready to go, Mike cautiously guided the excavators. A member of the crew responded, "You good?" The next step was to secure the 20-ton semi back onto its wheels using the chain and steady pull of the excavator. The truck resisted at first, but then it began to move. However, just as it was about to tip over, something went wrong, and the vehicle swung dangerously close to colliding with Mike's excavator. He yelled, "I don't like that. Bring her back." Mike grumbled under his breath as he swiftly adjusted his bucket to get more leverage, barely escaping a disaster. Tony, on the other hand, was completely unfazed. "I knew exactly where it was going to land. he stated confidently. With the truck firmly propped up, the next step was to attach the trailer. This went more quickly, and soon enough, both pieces of equipment were firmly planted on the ground. After almost 2 days of delays, the truck was finally working again, but the task at hand wasn't finished yet. Although it was frustrating, there was a bright lining. Mike and his colleagues still needed to raise the covert and construct the dike to guarantee the settling pawns were ready for sling. The vehicle and trailer amazingly hadn't taken any serious damage, and every single piece of equipment, despite the lack of shattered equipment and little damage, there were a few loads of gravel and some lost time that Mike reflected on. By the end of the day, we were back in business with the pumps running again in gold production. The operation was back on track, but Tony Beets and his crew learned that even the smallest mistakes can have massive consequences in the tough world of mining. The incident served as a reminder that there's no room for error when millions of dollars worth of gold are at stake. Now that the crisis had passed, they could return their attention to what truly mattered. This week, Tony Beets has been operating at a reduced capacity, running only one wash plant at Paradise Hill. Despite the slowdown, he is determined to reach his season goal of 5,000 ounces of gold. To stay on track, his crew needs to recover approximately 200 ounces each week. As the weigh-in begins, the numbers steadily rise, 80 to 9,010, until finally stopping at 143.5 ounces. The haul is worth over $350,000, but it falls short of the target, which is disappointing. Tony is aware of the importance of every ounce, and while he wishes there had been a bigger yield, he accepts the truth. Finding any gold is an improvement, and the money is needed to keep the business running.